In a courtroom filled with quiet anticipation and national attention, the verdict in the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs has sent ripples across the legal and entertainment worlds. Known for his influence in music, fashion, and business, Combs now stands at the center of a legal outcome that is both complex and significant. While cleared of the most serious charges, Combs was convicted on 2 counts. For some, this decision was unexpected. For others, it marked a moment of legal accountability. Yet what makes this case so intriguing is the balance of outcomes. A celebrated figure acquitted of major allegations, but still facing legal consequences. This result offers a moment to reflect not just on one man's trial, but on the broader conversation around accountability, evidence, and due process. With bail denied and sentencing ahead, all eyes remain on what comes next. This is not simply a story of charges and verdicts. It is a deeper look into how justice is interpreted and delivered in high-profile federal courtrooms, and what it means for the people involved and the public watching. The trial's outcome reveals both the strength and limits of the case presented by federal prosecutors. These acquittals suggest that the jury did not find enough evidence to meet the legal standard required for the more serious offenses. The charges that did lead to conviction were tied to specific events supported by documentation, such as travel records and expenses. This demonstrated a paper trail that directly connected Combs to the transportation activities described in court. As a result, Combs could face up to 20 years in prison, though legal experts believe a shorter sentence is more likely based on precedent. Importantly, the court's decision to deny bail reinforces the seriousness of the convictions that were handed down. Judge Arun Subramanian noted Combs' conduct both before and after the investigation began as part of the reason for continued detention. Despite the mixed verdict, the legal process moved forward with thorough consideration of both the prosecution and defense arguments, ultimately producing a result that carries significant legal weight without reaching the most severe level of sentencing. One of the pivotal moments in this case was the jury's rejection of the racketeering conspiracy charge. Built under the RICO statute, this charge required the prosecution to prove that Combs was part of an organized criminal enterprise and that he or others committed multiple criminal acts over time. This proved to be a complex element of the case. Legal experts observed that the challenge here wasn't about a lack of testimony or evidence, but about whether those elements could legally be linked to an enterprise as defined under RICO law. Since many potential witnesses who might have testified about Combs's inner circle, like former employees, did not appear in court, the jury may have found the enterprise connection too difficult to confirm. As a result, jurors focused instead on the clearer evidence of individual incidents. This illustrates how federal trials hinge not only on the seriousness of allegations, but also on the ability to meet specific legal definitions. In this case, RICO proved to be a high threshold. The verdict shows that jurors took care in separating what could be legally upheld from what may have remained uncertain in scope. It is a reminder of how precise and structured the justice system must be, especially in cases involving high-profile individuals. Evidence played a powerful role in shaping the outcome of this trial. Both individuals central to the case, identified as Ventura and Jane, shared detailed accounts that were then supported by credit card transactions, hotel invoices, and flight logs. These records provided clarity for jurors and aligned with the requirements for conviction under the Mann Act. This focus allowed jurors to rely on clear, tangible evidence that could be verified through documentation. Throughout the trial, the defense also acknowledged certain facts, including instances of personal conflict, which became part of the court's overall record. However, the defense maintained that none of these events amounted to the crimes alleged in the most serious charges. Ultimately, the court's findings reflected a balance between testimonial accounts and material proof. The process demonstrated how fact-based storytelling through records and documentation can significantly influence how a jury arrives at its final decisions. For Sean Combs, the outcome of this trial is a defining moment in a legal journey that continues. Although he was cleared of the most severe allegations, the convictions still carry considerable weight. Combs now awaits sentencing, and legal experts estimate that while he could face a maximum of 20 years, the expected range will likely be lower, somewhere between 4 to 6 years, according to preliminary calculations. His legal team has emphasized his cooperation with the court and his consistent behavior during detention, highlighting his willingness to face the charges head-on. However, Judge Subramanian's remarks during the bail hearing made it clear that the court considers the convictions and associated conduct serious enough to justify continued detention. At the same time, Combs's attorneys have pointed to the jury's decisions as validation that the more serious claims were not proven. The result is a mixed but meaningful conclusion to one part of a broader legal process. The sentencing phase will provide further clarity, and attention will now turn to how the court interprets the facts at hand during that stage. The road ahead remains active, but one chapter has reached a resolution through thoughtful deliberation and a structured legal approach. The public and legal responses to the verdict have been reflective and measured. Across media platforms, legal commentators have emphasized the importance of due process and the significance of a mixed verdict in such a high-profile case. Commentators such as CNN's Elliot Williams acknowledged that while Combs was convicted of federal crimes, he was not found guilty of the most serious, life-eligible offenses. This distinction plays a vital role in shaping public understanding of the outcome. Meanwhile, the people closely connected to the trial, including attorneys for Ventura, expressed that while the verdict was not their ideal outcome, it still demonstrated that the judicial system had taken the allegations seriously. Observers also highlighted how the presentation of evidence and careful legal strategy contributed to the nuanced result. Statements from both the prosecution and defense following the verdict conveyed appreciation for the jury's attention and care. What this case ultimately illustrates is that even in the most complex, emotionally charged trials, the court process can deliver a resolution grounded in law, logic, and responsibility. And while not every perspective may agree with the result, the structure and transparency of the trial earned respect from many who followed it closely. As the courtroom quiets and attention shifts to what lies ahead, the verdict in Sean Combs' trial offers more than just a conclusion to a legal chapter. It delivers insight into how truth is examined, how justice is pursued, and how outcomes are shaped by careful deliberation. The process revealed that even amid strong public opinions and intense scrutiny, a jury can sift through complex evidence and deliver a decision rooted in the law. For Combs, this moment represents both a pause and a pivot. He now moves forward as a person convicted of 2 federal charges, yet acquitted of others that carried even greater consequence. For the justice system, this case stands as an example of how high-profile proceedings must still adhere to the fundamentals of fairness, procedure, and reason. And for everyone watching, whether closely involved or simply following from a distance, it is a reminder that in every legal journey, facts, structure, and transparency remain at the heart of how decisions are made. As sentencing approaches and future legal matters proceed, one thing is certain: this trial has shaped the narrative, and its impact will continue to resonate far beyond the courtroom walls.